In this video, we are going to be checking out the Fortin Meshuggah Blackout Amplifier, the Fortin modded TS808 Overdrive, and the brand new NATAS Distortion Pedal. I would ask if you think any of these are going to chug, but that would be the stupidest question to ever ask, because of course they are. What is up, everyone? Jeremy here, and I am super excited to show off some absolutely incredible Fortin gear. But let me just quickly say, this is not a sponsored video. Fortin did not ask me or pay me to make this video. In fact, I purchased all of this stuff myself. They did not send any of this to me. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with the Fortin Meshuggah Blackout Amplifier. All right, so just quickly running through the controls that we have here on the front of the amplifier. The very first thing is this really cool power LED knob. It doesn't do anything other than just look cool, but you can turn it off or increase the amount that comes through, which is pretty rad. On and off, standby. The MVC control, which is your Meshuggah volume control. So in addition to just being a standard volume control, this is a push-pull pot. And as you can see on the bottom here, it says pull gain. So when you pull this out, it adds additional gain compression. At least that's the way they describe it in the manual. It basically just sounds like it adds another gain stage or something, but it really adds a thick gain onto this. Anyways, we got presence, bass, middle, and treble in our tone stack, and we have a gain 1 and a gain 2, and then the high and low gain inputs. The low gain input bypasses gain 1 and only uses gain 2. The high gain input uses both gains, and that is essentially it for the front. On the back, all we have is an effects loop, which is actually unique to this amplifier. The original Meshuggah did not have that. It is a passive effects loop. We have 2 speaker outputs. We have a switchable impedance control between 4, 8, and 16 ohms. And we can adjust the bias from the outside of the back of the panel with some access to read the bias and adjust it. And some fuses, and that's essentially it, with the last thing being a switch that will allow you to select the voltage of the amp between 120 and 240, I believe. So those are the controls. Now, let's go ahead and turn it on. I've got everything at noon. The tone stack, both gains. I'm in the high gain input here, and this is what it sounds like with no pedals, straight into it. And I will note that I have a cabinet here. It is not plugged in because I don't want to blow my damn eardrums out. This is going into my Suhr reactive load, into my API preamp, into my computer, and I'm gonna add an impulse response onto it that you will hear in the video. So with that, let's just hear what it sounds like. Nothing overly impressive yet, right? Well, let's go ahead and play with some of these controls. So first thing I'm gonna do is adjust gain. We'll start with gain 1, and then we'll adjust gain 2. So as you can hear, gain 2 has a lot more bottom end beef to it, whereas gain 1 has a lot more presence, a lot more top end. So that's just good to know as we're trying to dial this in. So there you go. That is the amp just completely by itself, just adjusting some of the gain. I did not touch the tone stack at all, so I'm gonna go ahead and just tweak that here a little bit. So the presence is actually kind of nice. It doesn't get completely overkill when I crank it all the way up, which is nice. Lot of bottom end. I like the middle on this. It's actually really, it sounds like a lot of this tone is, the clarity in the tone is coming through in the middle here. Let's see what we got in treble. So not bad, but we can do a whole lot better, obviously, when we start adding in some pedals to this. With this tuning, and I'm in G standard, there's just a lot of low end, a ton of low end. And we have to control that low end if we really want those tight, precise chugs. And so the first thing we're gonna do is add in the Fortin modded TS808 Overdrive, because that is going to control some of the low end. But then we're gonna add in this MXR 10-band EQ, and you can really just hear how drastic of a difference it is when we really kind of cut out some of these lower frequencies at like 31 hertz, 62, and even 125, and then boost around 1, 2, and 4K. But we'll get to that. So let's start with the TS808 Overdrive. It is on. I've got the level straight up at noon, tone at noon, and the overdrive is all the way off. Just turning that thing on, not only does it add a ton of gain, but it does control the low end a good bit. So let's go ahead and just kind of tweak this a little bit. I'll turn the volume, the level up and down, play with the tone, and then we'll just crank up the overdrive for the hell of it and see what kind of sludgy nonsense we can get. This is about 3/4 of the way up, or about, yeah, something like that. level all the way up. That is disgusting. Okay. Turn that back down a bit. Tone. It's all the way up. I don't like that. Way too much top end. Bring this back up to about noon. And the overdrive. Let's just go a quarter of the way up. Halfway up. Three quarters of the way up. I mean, it's just totally disgusting at this point. But of course, we got to go all the way up. Way too much. I mean, it's probably great for a lead tone. I don't play leads myself, so I actually prefer this almost basically all the way off, because just the additional hot signal that comes in, some of the filters that are cleaning up the low end a bit, and there is actually quite a bit of distortion, really, even with the overdrive all the way at the lowest point. Okay, so now I want to just quickly highlight what a difference an EQ can make here to really tighten up this tone, especially again when you're playing in something that's a lower tuning like this G standard or F or F sharp. You know, a lot of you playing like drop F sharp, shit like that, and it's just wicked low. So we've got to clean up some of this low end. So I'm going to play here just for a second, and then I'm going to engage the EQ, and you'll really hear the difference. Notice how the bottom end tightens up. You'll hear a little bit more in the mid range kind of start coming through, add a little bit more bite into the chugs. What a difference. Could play that all day long. Absolutely incredible. So I'm just gonna dial back the gain on the amp here just for a little bit because there is a ton of additional gain coming through here. So it's maybe a little bit too gain for fitting in like a mixed context while I'm sitting here playing. It's great. Love it. All right. That is the Fortin Meshuggah Blackout with the Fortin modded TS808 Overdrive. And I showed you what it sounds like adding some pre-EQ in here. So now let's go ahead and move on to their brand new NATAS Distortion Pedal and see what that thing sounds like. All right, so here we are with the brand new Fortin NATAS Distortion Pedal. And as you can see, this is a completely different setup, and that is because this is essentially kind of like a distortion preamp, and it is designed to go into a clean power amp. Now, I don't have a clean power amp. I have two incredible high gain monsters that are single channel essentially, and there is just no clean amp. So I broke out my NeuralDSP QuadCortex, and I have a clean power amp neural capture here. This is the Brit PA EL34 number 9. And I've pulled back the treble just a little bit and pulled back the volume like 1 dB. And I looked up what the Brit PA EL34 is, and it is a Marshall Silver Jubilee, I think. So it's a clean power amp with EL34 tubes, which is exactly what I was looking for. So this is actually working out just fine. And this is what this sounds like without the NATAS. That is what it sounds like, and I'll even turn the amp off and you can hear my clean DI signal. So this is the DI, and with the amp. So now what we can do is turn on the pedal and see what we get. So I have the tone stack, the bass, mid, and treble at noon, straight up the middle. I have the mid shift on the right side, so it's kind of the upper mid range. And then I have the grind and the girth setting, which are these two little knobs down here. Again, right up the middle. So they are kind of engaged. I believe the way that these work is if you have them all the way to the left, they're like essentially off. But I've got them right up the middle just to start with. And I have the gain right up the middle as well, and the volume right about where it should be to get an even match with the input signal. So let's just turn it on and see what it sounds like. So yeah, not bad, just everything kind of dialed in right at noon. So it does have a nice little chug to it. It's not overly heavy, right? It's not overly thick sounding at this point, but we haven't even scratched the surface of what this pedal is capable of. So let's get into it. For now, what I'm gonna do is just turn up this individual gain knob right here, just add a little bit more gain and see what we get. It's at about 75% or 3/4. Obviously a good bit more gain now. Let's turn it all the way up. All the way. All right, so let's turn this back down a bit. I'll actually just turn it right back to noon. Let's play with the EQ a little bit. That really sucks the body right out of it. That's not even all the way, this is all the way down. You can definitely get some sort of scoop tones with this thing. Bring it back down. So the other thing with the tone stack here is we have this mid shift button, so we can toggle this and it will essentially, you can see the arrow here is like when it's on the left side it's pointing down, when it's on the right side it's pointing up, so it's like the upper mids and lower mids. So let's toggle it to the lower mids and see what happens. It immediately dropped out some of the mids. Look at that. Some of the upper mids. Like all the mids are gone now. So if you toggle it to the lower mids, it's like you actually can turn up the mid control more. The upper mids, it really boosts them. I mean, if look at this, if I just keep it right at noon, and I mean, just at noon, you can hear it toggling to the upper mids. It's like it boosts those upper mids. So on the lower mids, let's turn it up a little bit. So I like both settings, honestly. I like how on the lower mids, when you crank it up, it almost in sort of a way adds somewhat of a kind of like a chainsaw effect to it when you really crank it up. But immediately just keeping it at noon and dropping it to the lower mid setting, you kind of get a naturally just more scooped tone. Whereas when you're wanting to do something more modern metal, you know, gent, dare I say, right? So you want that kind of upper mid chug to really come through. Definitely want it on the right-hand side. I don't like the treble. It's too much. All right, so let's play with the grind and girth here a little bit. So the grind is gonna be, these are pre-filters before it hits the distortion circuit. So as we turn up the grind, it's gonna add some top end before it hits the distortion. And girth is going to either add low end or pull out low end, filter it out before it hits the distortion. So let's play with these a little bit. I'll start with the grind and then move to the girth. I'm turning it all the way off. All the way up. Back it off a little bit. I like that a lot. It's a kind of at about maybe 60% or so. Like maybe around between 1 and 2 o'clock, something like that. Maybe my close-up camera, you can get a better shot of that. And then the girth, let's play with that. Oh, yeah. I mean, I just turned it all the way down and it's just completely sucking all the body right out of it. So. Yeah, there's no low end at all. So it's completely filtering like all the low end out before it even hits the distortion. So it's very thin. Now it's all the way up. And that honestly doesn't sound like it's boosting anything. I believe the way that this is working is all the way up, all the way to the right is like the natural signal, and as you turn it down, it's actually filtering out low end before it hits the distortion. I'm pretty sure that's the way it's working. Yeah, because then when I start turning it down, like it's at about noon now, I can already hear that low end cutting out. And then in the low end, I should say tightening up. Damn, this thing sounds really good. Okay, so now there's another switch here called kill, which engages another distortion circuit and just sends things completely over the top. So let's engage this. This thing absolutely rips. And just one last thing I want to show you is what the pedal sounds like on its own without running through, you know, like the clean amp that I mentioned at the beginning. It's really designed to go through, because I found it actually sounds really good on its own. And there's likely cases that I will use it for reamping things just on its own without running it through the clean amp, even though it does add quite a bit running it through the clean amp. But let's turn off the amp on the QuadCortex. This is just the pedal on its own. mean, it sounds pretty good on its own. I haven't just done really anything with the EQ. There's a little bit of wonkiness in the mid-range I'm not super happy with, but that can be EQ'd here and even in post. But when you add the amp, it really does kind of add a good like character to it. I mean, it absolutely rips. So that is the NATAS Distortion Pedal. All right, everyone, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed checking out this incredible gear from Fortin. And if you did, do me a favor and hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to my channel for more great content like this in the future. With that, I want to say thank you for watching and thank you for your support.